regular Board of Education meeting for the Chico Unified School District. Apologies for the delay. It is just after 5 p.m. and we will be going to closed session. Seeing that there's no public comment on closed session items, session and reconvene for open session at 6 p.m. Alrighty, we will reconvene to regular session. So I'm calling the meeting back in order in open session. Just a reminder, this meeting is recorded and live streamed. The board was in closed session, and during closed session, we took action. The board voted unanimously with 4 yeses and 1 absent to ratify a settlement agreement to resolve a special education dispute against the district. Pursuant to the agreement, the district authorized educational assessments and services for an eligible special education student and agreed to reimburse a portion of the parent's attorney fees. Under the express terms of the agreement, the board's ratification of agreement does not constitute an admission of liability by the district. With that, we'll move on to 3.3. I'll ask that everyone please stand for the flag salute. Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Staley for student reports.
Thank you. As you can tell, we have a lot of young students in our audience tonight, and thank you parents for being here and bringing them and supporting them. I would like to introduce Little Chico Creek Principal Kristen Schrock, and I think we're going to see something from these kids.
I'm Kristen Schrock. I'm principal of Little Chico Creek, and we are here to sing about Martin Luther King. So we have our classes, we have some class members from Mrs. Warner's class and Mrs. Perry's class, and they're going to set up right over here. Students, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, look to your teachers. Enjoy.
I have a dream. We have food and clothes in our homes forever. I have a dream that everyone that hopes a home to live in. I have a dream that people will change meanness to kindness. I have a dream that it doesn't matter what skin color you have. I have a dream that people have food to eat. I have a dream that people share. I have a dream that people use kind words with each other. I have a dream that everyone celebrates together. I have a dream that everyone to be happy. I have a dream for people to be nice to everyone. I have a dream that everyone will be nice and the people that have dark skin and light skin. I have a dream that people would be kind to their friends. I have a dream that people want to be sorry with each other. I have a dream that we all have friendships.
And I hope we can do everything we can to make all of these dreams come true for these wonderful students. Students, thank you so much. How about another big hand for them? And before anyone leaves, I'd like to ask Kristen Schock to come back up to the podium for 2 presentations.
So I'd like Mrs. Warner to come up. Good evening, and I have to put these on. And forgive me for writing this, but last time I did this, I left out way too many things, and I didn't want to do that with Mrs. Warner. So bear with me. and I'm not going to cry. Tonight, I'm honored to recognize Mrs. Werner as an exemplary kindergarten teacher who truly makes a difference in the lives of her young learners. We all know that at the heart of every successful educational journey, there stands at least one teacher whose dedication and passion helps shape the foundation of knowledge and character. Ms. Werner is just such a teacher. She possesses a unique blend of patience, creativity, and unwavering commitment to her students. She helps her students develop social skills and emotional intelligence. In other words, she has a magic sauce. Spend a few minutes in her classroom and you're going to see students that are eager, motivated, and joyful as they learn. Margie deeply understands that the early years are crucial in laying the groundwork of a lifelong love of learning. But it's not just about academics with Margie. Beyond the classroom, Mrs. Werner serves as a mentor and a guide to her student teachers, many student teachers, 2 of whom are on staff at Little Chico Creek now, to her aides and to her grade level partners. She collaborates with families, forming strong partnerships, helping to meet the diverse needs of her students. And additionally, she serves on our site leadership team, where she helps to ensure a welcoming and inclusive community. She's been at the head of our LCC Parade of Light committee for many years, helping to show off Little Chico Creek's Cheetah Pride to our larger community. And I could go on and on, but suffice it to say that Mrs. Werner is a significant reason why Little Chico Creek is such a special place for our students, our families, and our staff. Thank you, Margie, for the magic you bring to your students each and every day. We all love and appreciate you. Picture, photo up. Get the chairs going.
Nobody's crying.
I have to document this moment.
And I'd like Little Chico Creek to stay put because we have someone else to honor. Ms. Kniff, do you want to come up?
All right, good evening. So tonight we are also here to honor someone truly exceptional from our Little Chico Creek community. This person's contributions extend far beyond the realm of his job description, and his presence is really vital to creating an environment where all staff and students feel valued and secure. So at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Matt to come up to the stage. So Mr. Matt's willingness to lend a hand not only acts as a model for all of our students and all of our staff, but it helps to add to our sense of community at school. No task or job is too big or too small for him. This man is the first person to arrive on campus in the morning, ensuring that our school is ready for our 450 plus students. He also makes sure that he comes into the office in the morning and turns on a lamp for each one of us so that we don't walk into a dark office. He helps to ensure safety and order during the morning breakfast rush and even the busier lunch rush. And he makes sure that our campus is secure when we practice our action alert drills and even when it's not a drill. So a lot of this person's work is done behind the scenes, and while we don't always physically see all the hard work that he does throughout the day, I can tell you that we definitely notice when he is gone. The fact that Mr. Matt has formed relationships with some of our students who show complicated or tricky behaviors is not surprising, to say the least. He is always willing to help a student who's had a rough day just by being someone to talk to or just giving them a job to take their mind off of things. The genuine patience and kindness we witness in his interactions with these students echoes the same virtues that we've had the privilege of observing in his role as a father to his 3 smart, kind, and beautiful daughters. Through the years, as his daughters have attended or currently attend our school, we have seen Matt's nurturing and supportive nature extend beyond his family to embrace our broader school community. So I am here tonight, we are here tonight to extend our deepest thanks to Mr. Matt, who is our shining example of dedication, kindness, and someone who takes real pride in their work.
That's awesome. Very nice job.
Right there crying.
I made the mistake.
And with that, I want to thank all of the LCC community. You're welcome to stay, but you can also go ahead if you have things you have to do and go. Thank you to our student presenters and to our staff. And I'll turn it back to you.
All right, while folks are trickling out, I'm just gonna go ahead and move into the next item. Item number 6 is announcements. This is a time for board members to make announcements regarding to upcoming student events, student awards, or school site accomplishments. I'll give one brief announcement. We received notification yesterday from the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is, Butte County is a nonpartisan organization whose purpose is to promote informed, active participation of citizens in government. And so they have informed us that they have appointed league observers for Chico Unified School District Board of Education meetings. And so I would like to welcome Pam Bardner and Helen Gessick, I think I might have said that wrong, as our observers who will be taking turns being here to witness board meetings. So happy to see League of Women Voters here to witness the proceedings and to be able to keep their followers informed and the public at large. So thank you for being here with us. Are there any other announcements from board members at this time? Alrighty, seeing none, we can move on to item 7, items from the floor. Items from the floor are for speakers who wish to address the board regarding a topic that is not currently agendized. Do we have any speaker cards for items from the floor?
We do not.
Okay. And so if there's no speakers for items from the floor, I'll move on to item number 8, our consent calendar. Is there anybody who would like to pull an item from consent at this time for further discussion? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion from Member Tennis and a second from Member Lando. This is our first vote for the night. Is there any further discussion on consent? Seeing none, Mr. Tennis, we'll do a voice vote starting with you, please.
Tennis, aye.
Conkin, aye.
Dalby, aye.
Lando, aye.
Okay, it passes 4 with 1 absent. We're gonna have to do that all night tonight, huh? Yep, yes we are. Alrighty, we will move right along. That's lots of field trips, by the way. Check out the agenda if you want to see all the cool places our kids are going. Moving on to our discussion action calendar, it is item 9. Under 9.1, Educational Services, 9.1.1 is an informational item, recognition of the Reading Pals Chico program and award.
Thank you for letting us talk about this. This is really one of the cooler things that happens in Chico Unified. So I just want to give about a minute or two background to kind of lead up to, and I'm going to invite Michelle to come up here right now too. Michelle Curran is kind of the head of it now. What has led Michelle to be standing up here with a golden bell before you at this moment in time? So it was about 10 years ago, actually. Rory Rochok was a community volunteer, really working hard to up our community engagement with things. So Rory, we wanted to put some things in place where volunteers at our school had really positive experiences also and really made connections with kids. They got something out of it, and that wasn't always the case before with those kinds of things. So we put in place, we started out with positive outcomes for students also. So we said one of the ways we want to do something with this is really focus on reading for our students. So we wanted to funnel all of our volunteers into a very dedicated reading opportunity to connect with our kids and do those kinds of things. We put curriculum together, and we put curriculum together that was so user-friendly, even a superintendent could come over and do it weekly with our students also and be successful with it and have a great experience with it as well. So we did those things. We bought the materials. We had enough dollars to put this in place at about 4 schools back then with a couple dozen volunteers maybe. And kind of cycling ahead, about 10 years later, we see Michelle here now with this happening at all 12 of our schools with hundreds of volunteers kind of mixed in throughout the whole kind of place with it. And it's really a humming organization now. I mean, in large part thanks to Michelle with what she does with that. And just kind of that range of volunteers, though. My best friend in town, I grew up with him, his 94-year-old mom is one of those volunteers that have been doing up until about the last year or so. We have superintendents to do it. We really have a wide cross-section of Chico that's here volunteering, helping our kids become better readers. We even took a deeper dive at the data to see, do kids get better reading skill-wise? Absolutely, and they hold that growth, too, with being part of this program. So with all those positives being said, Michelle is really the oil that kind of keeps things greased and lubed and moving ahead, and she is just that volunteer magnet that brings all these people into our schools to make this run. So I'm going to let Michelle share a little bit more about it from there, and kind of kudos to Michelle. So thank you very much, Michelle, for making it all work like that.
I have my helpers who are also Chico Unified students and couldn't wait to be up here. Ted kind of gave you a great summary of Reading Pals, but when we first started, we had about 12 kids and 12 volunteers, and we started with 6 weeks. And we called it strategic tutoring, and we were trying to figure out what we could help students with through the evolution of recognizing it was something volunteers really wanted to be doing on campus. Came up with kind of the plan you see in place today, and that's been 10 years, and we have had about 3,300 students go through the program, including the kids that have been in this year. We've had about 1,300 community volunteers. Some are here tonight, and so I want to acknowledge that this has been a community effort, and many of the volunteers sitting right here have been doing this for 5, 10 years with me. And it's a community effort. We have site coordinators. I have 14 site coordinators that staff all 12 sites. There's 2 sites with 2 site coordinators. So if you are on the site coordinator, will you stand up for me? Site coordinators, Gina, Heather, yeah. Yeah, there we go, Bernadette and Sharon. So these guys do all the work for welcoming all of our volunteers and doing all the scheduling, because that's the biggest piece of this is the puzzle, figuring out when kids can come and what volunteers can place with them. So, and then we have our volunteers, which if you volunteered with us, will you stand up for me? Yeah. And we've had volunteers from 13 years old to 93 years old with us. And truly just a cross-section of people from all over the community, and that's one thing that we're really, really proud of. So standing right here, we have the Golden Bell Award, which at the the California School Board Association Golden Bell Award, I think I got it right, was presented. We went through the nomination process and did the presentation back in San Francisco. So thank you for taking a leap with us as a guinea pig, really, truly. We've talked to so many districts that are excited about implementing something like Reading Pals, and they're like, how do you do this? And we're like, well, honestly, it's a huge kudos to the district in taking a leap of a risk with us. Ted was one of the first principals at one of the sites. And I said, can we try it? He's like, I don't know. But it worked out. And now we have like all 12 sites, and we have communities that are replicating this in Corning, Red Bluff, Paradise, Orland, Orville, and Palo Alto has actually been replicating our program too. So we're really grateful to Chico Unified and the board for even just like allowing us to try this out. And it's been a really meaningful part for our volunteers too. I think everyone says they join for the kids, but then they feel like they get something out of it too. So we're grateful. Thanks for celebrating with us. I'm gonna let them ring the bell really quick. Ready? It really rings. Go!
I do want to jump in and thank, in particular, Michelle and Rory Rochak for their efforts to get this program up and running. It has been fabulous for our kids, but it also has been fabulous for our school district because we have the community that comes into our schools and sees not only the wonderful work that happens every day, but also some of the challenges we face and overcome on a daily basis as well. So I think it's created much more understanding of what happens in the schools, and our volunteers are just amazing. I get to see a few of them when I volunteer over at Chapman, and their interactions with the kids are fabulous. I can't thank you enough for doing that, and I do hope that you get something out of it in return. I know I certainly do. But we did nominate them for the Golden Bell Award at the California School Boards Association Annual Conference. There are hundreds of nominations that come in, and they ended up, they gave, 30 different awards, but Chico Unified was one of the top 3 awards in the entire state. So I'm incredibly proud of the program, proud of our volunteers, our site leaders, and thank you all.
Michelle?
Oh yeah, sorry, we'll turn that check around. We got $1,000. That was for the Might as well be $1 million.
So first of all, thank you very much for everything you do. I know how much energy and work you put into this, and the excitement you have about it is palpable, and it's so fun to watch. If somebody wanted to get involved and volunteer, what would they do?
readingpalschico.org. It's a pretty simple process to come volunteer. We do orientations for all of our volunteers, and they can contact us right on the website. There's just an easy volunteer button, and we have a simple form, and then Mariana, who's my lead volunteer coordinator, will likely be the one that they conduct with, and we'll plug them into a schedule after I.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, thanks you guys.
Oh, yes.
We're
Thank
going to
you
let
so
you
much.
go back and get to bed and get ready to hit those classrooms again tomorrow.
Thank you for being here. Alrighty, next item, 9.1.2, informational review of California school dashboard results for Chico Unified with our very own Mr. Tim Karras.
Good evening. Tonight, I will be discussing the dashboard system as a whole, as well as Chico Unified School District's performance on the fall 2023 dashboard. You'll see a lot of comparisons across the state and within our county. I look at tonight as a huge celebration. particularly for our academic achievement and the work that our school sites have done to continue to increase that. So the California State Dashboard was put in place by the state of California in 2017, and it is tied to the requirements set forth in the local control funding formula and the metrics required by the federal ESSA Act, Every Student Succeeds Act. So the dashboard gives a holistic look at the performance of schools and districts across the state of California, going beyond just academics as we had prior to the dashboard system in California. So we are measured on 7 state indicators based on qualitative data, from state testing to suspension to graduation outcomes. And then we have 5 local indicators based on the self-assessment that district staff does for us. Tonight I'll be focusing on the 7 state indicators. The 5 local indicators were discussed at one of the June board meetings. The dashboard is publicly available on a website run by the state. So any member of the public is able to look up a school, look up a district, and get a holistic view of that school or district's performance. During the consent agenda, part of the consent agenda was the school accountability report cards. The intent of the dashboard is similar to the school accountability report card. It's just much simpler to look at for the general public and easier to access. So I see this as our district report card tonight. The dashboard indicators, or the metrics that are shown on the California State Dashboard, are organized by LCFF priority. And so we look at English language arts and math, English learner progress. So what we're looking at here is how many students grew one level on their English language learner test from year to year. We're looking at chronic absenteeism, which means students that were absent more than 10% or more of the school year. Graduation rate, percentage of students in a class that received a regular high school diploma. Suspension rate, the percentage of students who were suspended at least one day. And the college and career indicator, which is really based on a variety of graduation outcomes, such as the attainment of the seal of biliteracy, CTE completion. It's really a broad view of desirable outcomes for our graduates. Takes into account smarter balance and advanced placement as well. That indicator could really be a board workshop on its own. There's that much, it's that rich. So how do we use the California State Dashboard in Chico? Primarily, we're using it to measure our progress towards goals set in our local control accountability plan. It informs programmatic evaluation, general planning, funding allocation. So we put personnel or programs in place. We need to see how we're improving or not based on those actions. The data is used in grant applications and evaluation. And we bring it to the public every spring to get input on how we can better serve our students. This year's dashboard is different than it has been since 2019. This is the first time we received color ratings, and I'll explain those in a moment, which is a very, very simple way to display to the public how we're doing on these metrics. It's a very simple scale. The color ratings we're receiving this year that you'll see in the presentation indicate growth, how much we improved, and how we're doing in general. It's a combination of both of those. The exception to that in this year's dashboard is the college and career indicator, which only displays status, how we're doing right now. There's no growth measure. So this is a high-level look at the Chico Unified Dashboard. You can see there's 5 colors that schools or districts can attain. Very low is red, and then you can see that color scale go from red to orange to yellow to green to blue. So it's pretty intuitive for the public. Some highlights here are us remaining green from 2019 in English language arts. We see we're yellow in mathematics, and it just so happens that most of the state is yellow or below in mathematics, and I'll give you more information on that. We see a great performance in our English learner progress, graduation rate, and we have seen improvements, significant improvements to yellow in chronic absenteeism.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When I clicked on the link, it took me to 2022. And so,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's okay.
I'm sorry.
Easy
Yeah.
to find 2023,
Yeah.
drop-down menu, no big
Sure.
deal. But my question is it reasonable to look at the bar graph system from 2022 and equate like 1 bar is basically the same as red, 2 bars is basically the same as orange, or are the metrics different enough that that's
The
not really
metrics are
fair?
different enough, I would say. What we look for, and I'm speaking for senior cabinet and ed services, is growth.
Right, that's what I was looking at.
Which last year's dashboard didn't take into account. It was just purely status, so
Got it.
I would caution you on that.
Okay, just, yeah, for example, chronic absenteeism in 2022, understandably, because of the pandemic, was very high, and now it is at yellow,
Right.
which would be medium, you know, if you were to say apples to
Right,
apples. But
right.
it's not quite fair.
Not apples to apples,
okay.
yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that.
So how are the colors calculated? I'm going to walk over here in a moment. Actually, no, I have a cord. So let me just walk you through this. So this chart is a good representation of a complex idea, I would say. When you look across the top, the top row, you see declined significantly, declined, maintains, increased, and increased significantly. So this is the growth measure, okay? So when we talk about growth, that's how those are the labels that we're given based on our growth. When you look down the first column, you see very high all the way down to very low. So how this works is each site and district receives a growth measure, how much do we improve or decline, and a status measure. So if a district or if a site is achieving a medium level and they increase significantly, their color is green. If a school site is at a low level and they increase significantly on this measure, they are a yellow. So it's a combination of both of those. Any questions on that? Okay. This is just one example for language arts. These exist for all the measures. When we look out across the state, or at the state itself, statewide, we exceed statewide achievement in all indicators. You can see the color differences there, and the 2 colors where we're the same, chronic absenteeism rate and college and career, both our achievement levels is higher than the state. Okay. The following slides are, the following set of slides are views at Chico Unified, the district as a whole, and Chico Unified sites compared to the county. There's a lot of slides here. These are for your reference. I'd like to speak like in generalities about them and then get down to the business of digging into Chico Unified data in particular. When we look out across the county, we have a wide variety of student populations. So we can see, so what's provided on these slides is the size of the district or site as well as the unduplicated count for that district. Take that into account as you look at these. A site with a smaller unduplicated percentage will be more likely to score higher due to the traditional performance of that population. So this is more of an FYI. We all like to know what's going on around us. So I'm just going to walk you through this fairly quickly. So we see this is English language arts, and our distance from standard is top in the county. Math, we are near the top of the county. We see Durham at the very top there in green. When we look at sites, these are not, the colors that you see here are not so that you can pick out what color they scored on the dashboard, but so you can see what district they're from. So Chico Unified's the dark blue. We see us clustered up more towards the top, but we do see a few on the bottom of the list of elementary schools for English language arts. This is the same view for math for elementary schools in the county. We see Sierra View up there at the top and a number of Chico Unified sites clustered near the top. When we see junior high, when we look at junior high, we see our 3 junior highs at the top. When we look at math for junior high, we see Durham at the very top and then our 3 Chico Unified junior highs. When we look at high schools, here's the English language arts. We see our 2 comprehensive high schools at the top. And by the way, this is only county comprehensive high schools. When we look at math, we see Gridley High up there, as well as Durham, and Chico Unified the top 4. Continuation schools in the county, we have 4, and we see Fairview in the middle for English language arts achievement, and 2nd out of 4 in math. Fairview is one of our great successes growth-wise in the district this year. We saw a great growth from them. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. So now we're going to jump into Chico Unified in particular and take a deeper dive into our student groups, areas of strength, areas of improvement. As we do this, it's important to have the context of similar districts across the state. So what we do is we look out across the state and we find districts that are a similar size, plus or minus 25% or 3,000 students enrollment, and then an unduplicated student percentage within 10 percentage points of our percentage. So is this a perfect comparison? No. Because other factors, community conditions, there's other factors that come in. It's important for us to measure ourselves against similar districts because we face similar challenges with districts that are similar size and a similar unduplicated count. So when we look out across the state at those districts within those constraints, we find 11 other school districts other than Chico Unified. And so these are the same districts that I presented on in early November when we looked at CASP scores. And so when we look at the dashboard results for Chico Unified, number 1, most importantly, we improved 2.2 points. Okay, we improved last year significantly from 2019, and we continue to improve. For reference, our LCAP goals are written for both the site, or SIPSA goals for the site, the Single Plan for Student Achievement, and our district LCAP goals are written for 3 points, growth in academics. However, you can see green, and you can see that high performance. We're second out of the 12 districts that you see here, all similar size and makeup. So this is a celebration, and I'll dig more into the details of how we got here in a moment. When we look at student group performance on the English Language Arts indicator, we can see performance gaps still in place, particularly with those student groups towards the bottom. You can see some reds there, meaning the lowest achievement level, and you can see some outstanding growth towards the top of the chart. The important piece that we look at, the most important, is this growth. And when we look at this chart, it's showing by student group how much growth they made on the Smarter Balance test. So our goal, again, is 3 points growth for every student group. And we can see a number of student groups up there surpassing that 3 points. Some very significantly. One thing that we're particularly proud of, and a lot of effort has gone into this, is our socioeconomically disadvantaged growth. We are, as you are very well familiar, we have put a significant effort into implementation of a district-wide MTSS system to close these achievement gaps. And when you see socioeconomically disadvantaged, for example, scoring that well, you can see that we're closing achievement gaps. Okay. African Americans also, our African American student group went up 3.7 as well, right there. It's a small line, so I just wanted to point that out, but that's a huge celebration for us as well. So, successes in language arts. 9 of our 13 student groups increased achievement. All 3 junior highs in Chico improved, with Chico Junior improving the most at 7.3 points average distance from standard. So that more than doubles their goal for the year. Parkview and Shasta, in particular, were amongst the highest growth elementary schools in the state for their students with disabilities population. It is, when we look at elementary schools across the state, there is many, and they're in the top handful. Really incredible work that those staffs have done with those students. Again, I mentioned Fairview earlier. Fairview grew 8.2 points average distance from standard, which is more than double their goal. McManus, Citrus, Shasta, Emma Wilson, and Hooker Oak showed very, very significant growth. In particular, with the populations at McManus, Citrus, and Emma Wilson, with a significant number of unduplicated students, that's a huge achievement. That's a big celebration for those sites. And I just want to acknowledge all the work that goes on at those sites at all levels, from families to staff, everybody. Students working hard, huge achievements there. And concerns. Both comprehensive high schools went down, but they remain at a green rating. So they were high in the eyes of the state, but both went down. Nobody likes to see sites go down. We're working with DLC, our district leadership council, the teacher representatives on there to attack that. Also of note here is our foster youth and English learners achieved a red rating. So that's the lowest they can get. At a site level, Chapman and Oak Bridge decreased significantly. So lots to celebrate there with English language arts, but we always need to be looking at places to improve. And these are just, this is a kind of a summary overview of places we need to improve. For math, we surpassed our goal as a district of 3 points improvement and improved 3.5 points this year. We're second in amongst our similar districts across the state. This math has been for years and years something that we've all looked at and seen a flat line. We've seen a tiny bit of growth, a tiny bit of decline, but for the most part it's flatlining. This is significant growth for math. And you can see us there at second. I mentioned earlier that, you know, there's not a whole lot of greens in the state, and we can see one there, Alhambra Unified from down east of LA. When we look at our student group performance, we see a similar spread that we see in English language arts, anywhere down to the reds and oranges, on up to some of our larger student groups, socioeconomically disadvantaged, most notably at the upper, you know, half of our student group growth. Socioeconomically disadvantaged, by the way, is our largest student group. This growth chart here is something to celebrate. We can see African American students improving 17 points on average distance from standard. That is highly significant. It is almost 6 times our goal for that student group. I had to double check and triple check that was right, and it is. It's huge growth. We see 2 or more races growing more than 11 points, and there's our socioeconomically disadvantaged group. The biggest group in Chico Unified, making significant growth in math. Areas of success, you know, I just mentioned the growth of our African American student group. 9 of 13 of our student groups showed an increase in achievement. Chico Junior, again in math, increased by almost 10 points, which is more than triple their goal. Parkview and Shasta did the same thing in math as they did in English language arts with their students with disabilities. Some of the most significant growth in the state when we look at all elementary schools. Fairview, up 16.9 points, is incredible growth, so kudos to that staff. It's not just the math teacher, it's the whole crew over there with all the supports they have in place for their kids. And I mentioned earlier, our socioeconomically disadvantaged students grew significantly. Concerns in math. Both comprehensive high schools achieved a yellow rating, but decreased in student achievement. So again, we're working with math DLC members to address that. Chapman and Oak Ridge decreased in math as well as English language arts. And same thing with language arts as well as English learners and foster youth achieved a red rating. So we're going to take a leap into some other indicators, but really what the other indicators such as suspension rate, chronic absenteeism, those are metrics to support our #1 goal, which is academic achievement in this district. And so the improvement that we've seen in particularly math, but also English language arts, the significant growth of, you know, certain student groups and the significant growth of certain sites is something to celebrate. Okay, so we're going to look at the English Learner Progress Indicator right here. And what this means, what the English Learner Progress Indicator measures is if improvement by our English learners on their English language state test. So how quickly are they becoming proficient in English? We've in my time in Chico Unified, always had a great ELD program. And what we see now is the highest performance out of all of our comparable districts. And I want to just give kudos to Kaylin Rice and Anna Mayfield, who are our ELD coordinators and who run the boots on the ground part of LPAC testing, the test for our English learners. And this is a huge point of pride. We increased 1.7 percentage points. Moving on to priority 5 and pupil engagement. You can see Chico Unified increased by 2 percentage points. We can see we're kind of towards the middle of the comparable sites, but we are green. So if you look up the chart from us and you see some of those yellow districts, they're yellow because they went down instead of growing. So that's why they got a yellow rating, but their grad rate is a little bit higher than us. When we look at student group graduation rate, we can see socioeconomically disadvantaged in green, Hispanic in green, white in green, and the all student group. Those are our biggest student groups in Chico Unified, all in green. That's good news. We see homeless youth and students with disabilities towards the bottom. Most student groups in Chico Unified grew last year. You can see American Indian or Alaska Native with the highest growth, Foster Youth second highest, and African American with the third highest. Another notable data point here is students with disabilities growing over 7% in their graduation rate. So that's significant growth for those student groups. Towards the bottom, we can see some dips for English learners, Asian, and 2 or more races. Chronic absenteeism has been a huge issue across the state. If kids aren't in school, they're not going to learn as much. It's as simple as that. We decreased our chronic absenteeism rate by 8 percentage points last year, which is significant. We're still much higher than we were pre-pandemic, significantly higher. So that's something that we're working on. But our attendance clerks are kind of the front lines of attendance and welcoming people to school. And they're doing a great job reaching out to families, building those relationships, and encouraging attendance. Here's a quick view of student group performance on chronic absenteeism. And this is our growth, might be the wrong word, this is our improvement slide here. So going to the left of the line, of the middle line, the 0, is desirable for this. We want to decrease chronic absenteeism. So we can see all of our student groups except 2 increasing significantly. When we talk about suspension rate, that's also been a concern across the state. We see suspension rate as, or student behavior, I should say, and conduct as an improvement to support academic growth of those kids. If kids are misbehaving on campus or in a classroom, that's hindering their academic growth as well as the academic growth of those around them. When we talk about suspension, there are certain education code violations that we have to suspend for. And when we are suspending, we are doing so with, how are we going to welcome these students back onto campus? How are we going to correct this behavior? It's not purely punitive, and sometimes it's necessary to ensure the safety of other students and staff on campus. we decreased by 0.2 of a percentage point. So basically, we stayed the same as we were the prior year. So we're at 4.3%, and you can see us kind of, the top of the bottom half here. One other, notes on suspension. A district's performance is highly influenced by the way they code their suspensions and the way they administer their suspensions. So a couple things that districts may do, and we've started to do, particularly at the junior high level, is keep kids on campus in an isolated situation with counseling help and supervision to make sure they're still taking care of their academics, and there's some effort on the part of school staff to address the underlying issues that led to that behavior. We have been doing that at elementary for many, many years, and we're moving that into secondary this year. Here's our student group performance. We can see the spread here. Down towards the bottom, we see homeless, African American, and foster with particularly high rates. And when we look at the change from year to year, so again, this is similar to chronic absenteeism. You want to move to the left of the zero, so you're decreasing. We can see some significant decreases, and we still see some fairly significant increases towards the bottom of that chart. Okay, moving on to the final data set is the college and career indicator. This year, only status was reported, so you won't see any colors. You'll just see purple. We were a medium as a district, as I talked about earlier. And when we look at that across the state, kind of the bottom of the top half in our similar districts, there's a lot of details that go into this metric, and I mentioned them earlier. I'll mention some of them again. Seal of biliteracy attainment is taken into account here. Smarter balanced results, AP test results, seal of biliteracy, work experience, things like that. Desirable outcomes for our students, and that is really something we should expect to see grow significantly as the block schedules at the comprehensive high schools are in place longer. We should expect to see this grow significantly over the years.
Is the reason that there's not a color metric because there was no data last year, no data reported last year?
Right. Most of the metrics include smarter balance data, and the 2022 graduating class didn't take smarter balanced, so they didn't give us anything. Gotcha. For college and career indicator.
And so next year we could expect that indicator to be like the other ones?
Yes. You can see our student group spread here. This is just performance. Oops. Oh, and I thought I was missing a slide, but we don't have a growth metric because we didn't have it last year. So let's talk about how the dashboard is used in the state accountability systems. Districts that show low performance for student groups across a number of indicators are put into what's called differentiated assistance. Differentiated assistance is a county intervention to ensure that we are planning improvements to our actions and services. We have qualified this year. So we will be working with the county. I think our first meeting is at the beginning of February with the county. So they'll come in and talk to us about what we're doing. And we have a lot to tell them about what we're doing to change things for these certain student groups. The student groups that qualified Chico Unified for differentiated assistance are listed here, along with the indicators that showed low performance that triggered the differentiated assistance. So A district needs to have one student group with low performance in two metrics to qualify for DA. You can see the four student groups for us there. Things to keep in mind with this. 60% of unified school districts in California are in differentiated assistance this year, currently. So that's high. If I was a teacher that, taught a lesson and 60% of my kids didn't get it, I would look at myself and primarily, this is a significant number of school districts falling into this. In addition, 10 out of 11 of our closest comparable districts qualify for differentiated assistance. So it's not an anomaly for a district to qualify.
So Tim, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in here. So I was actually at a workshop today, and they talked about differentiated assistance. So for 2023, there was 466 school districts and county offices that were in differentiated assistance. There's about 1,000 LEAs in the state, if you put it in perspective that way, because there was an additional 203 charter schools. So over 600 and almost 670 LEAs of the 1,000, which goes to his point of the 60%.
Right.
So it's a lot.
Right. Accountability to come. We're expecting in the next month to receive school-level accountability news from the state. Schools are held accountable for a similar, under a similar set of requirements for each of their student groups as well. Districts fall under differentiated assistance for that poor student group performance. Schools qualify for one of two accountability measures. One is Comprehensive Support and Improvement, or CSI, and that's only for Title I schools. And then additional targeted support and improvement, or ATSI, for non-Title I schools. Very similar process as we see with differentiated assistance. Those schools have not been released yet by the state. So, celebrations, to end on a positive note. We improved on all dashboard indicators that included a growth metric. So everywhere we could possibly show improvement on the dashboard as a district, we did. Significant progress was made on closing academic achievement gaps for many student groups. We exceeded our goal of improving math achievement, something we've been after for many, many years. And as you saw, when we compare our academic results to similar districts, we're at or near the top. When we look at English language arts, math, and English learner progress. So that's what I have for you. Any questions?
Yeah, if you don't mind. First of all, thank you very much. I know how much work goes into parsing and using this information in a way that we and teachers and staff can find helpful. So appreciate the work that went into this. You might have mentioned, I apologize if I missed it. Can you go back to slide 50, the student group results for college and career indicators?
Yeah.
I just want to know how where these numbers come from, in that the all students group apparently has an N of 999 students. I know we have more than that, so who's counted in that group?
So this is the graduating class
In the graduate
of last year,
Thank you. See, I
right?
missed it.
And so you'll see, some of these student groups, the numbers are very, very low.
Yeah.
And, you can see two student groups at the bottom there don't even have a metric because there's not enough kids.
I just missed the line about the graduating class. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. It's a big presentation. There's a lot of slides. Before I call you up, this is not really a serious question, but when you presented on CAST scores in science, is there going to be a time where that gets incorporated into this dashboard?
All signs are that eventually it will be.
Eventually. I think we've been being told that probably for like 10 years.
Yeah. That dashboard requirements tend to change right on up until the November state school board meeting.
Okay,
So,
great. Question for Jacqueline. Is there a direct impact on budget for expenses for being in differentiated assistance? Okay. I know there's other programs where the state steps in and then you have to like pay for, yeah, okay.
We'll meet with the Butte County Office of Education. Actually, they already set an appointment to meet with us about what are we doing to improve in those 4 areas. They will offer their support moving forward. We did that last year when it came to, I believe, Foster. And we'll meet with them again about the stuff that we're doing and are hoping to continue to improve and how we can improve on those things. So we'll meet with them, I believe it's in about a week. So anyway, that's what we have to do when it comes to the DA.
And for clarification, just to kind of elaborate what Jay said, there's no additional cost to our budget. At this point, it's staff time, meeting with BCOE to go over that.
Yeah, okay. We don't have to do like outside contracting or anything like that. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll move along to, we're on 9.1.3, discussion action, extended school year, ESY, with Ms. Jennifer Scala.
Hello, hopefully we'll be quick tonight. Every summer, our special education programs are required to offer what's called extended school year for our students with most significant disabilities, with the goal of ensuring that they don't regress over that time being away from services and work on those goals. And the education code requires that we offer 20 days of instruction with a length of the day equivalent to our minimum day. What we're finding this year with the schedule of June and then where the 4th of July falls, historically our attendance always wanes around that 4th of July holiday, and with it being kind of right in the middle of that week, what we're requesting is a waiver from the State Department of Education to shorten the number of days, but increase the length of time. So the difference between 4 hours a day for 20 days versus 15 days at 5 hours a day is pretty minimal in terms of services to our students. So that's what we're seeking. And in order to move forward with that waiver, we need your approval. Questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any questions. Is there any public comment for this? Okay, no public comment. All right, well, then that brings us to, it is an action item, so I believe that you're requesting that we approve. I will ask for a motion.
Yeah, I'll move adoption of the suggestion we just heard.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lando and a second by Mr. Tennis. Any further discussion, board? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote, starting with Ms. Conkin.
Conkin, aye.
Dalby, aye.
Lando, aye.
Tennis aye.
All right, it passes 4 with 1 absent. 4 yeses with 1 absent. Thank you. On to business services. 9.2.1, informational item 2024 to 2025 state budget update. Jacqueline Kruger.
Yeah, we'll get going. So we've anxiously been waiting, at least in my office, I can't speak for my peers, for the governor's budget here in January. So given the economic data that we saw coming out after the tax receipts were finalized in November and December, I have to admit, I was a little nervous related to the budget for the 24-25 school year. But I would say the governor's budget is better than anticipated and really good, actually, for K-12 education. Some of the highlights, they're going to fully fund COLA. COLA is only right now at 0.76%, so 0.75%, but they are anticipating fully funding that. At this time, there's no cuts, no additional cuts, no cash deferrals, and no program sweeps of programs that have been allocated but not appropriated. So the example that probably resonates the most with our district is community school grants. So those have been appropriated, but they've been allocated by the state, but they haven't been appropriated from a cash perspective. But there's no movement right now to pull those programs back. So the governor did come out and say, hey, we have a $38 billion deficit that we have to address. So for K-12 education, as a reminder, actually it's K-14 education, Prop 98 is what gives us our funding. It's 40% of the general fund. So as the general fund goes up, we get 40 cents on every dollar. As the state general fund goes down, we lose 40 cents on every dollar. So when it goes down, that's a big hit. So one of the areas that the governor is looking at is of that guarantee, just by the nature of number of students in the state, which is decreasing because students are moving out, as well as the lower attendance rate, that's how he's getting some of his savings. So while our ADA funding is going to go up by 0.76%, from a statewide perspective, he's actually getting savings in that particular component of Prop 98. The other piece that the governor is doing is actually taking money out of the rainy day fund. So the state has been putting money into a Education Stabilization Act, which most call the rainy day fund, and he's going to be taking money out of that for the current year because the tax revenues for 22 came in so low, as well as next year. So it would require that he declare a budget emergency. He's willing to do that, but he hasn't alluded when he would do that. So we don't know if that would happen sooner rather than later. I think that's part of the budget discussions with the legislature. But I will say the point in having a rainy day reserve is for rainy days like these. So I do commend the governor for fully funding education and using our reserve wisely. I think at this point in time with education, we are seeing the swing back to categorical programs that went away for a period of time, but the good news is there's no new categoricals to be implemented for next year. So the governor's committed to continuing the implementation of transitional kindergarten. So we are moving forward next year with another age range for 4-year-olds to be September 2nd through June 2nd. So full implementation of transitional kindergarten will be in 25-26. He is continuing to fully fund universal meals, which means every child of Chico Unified gets to eat for free, which is a great program for our kids and is definitely keeping our nutrition services staff busy. And lastly, he is continuing the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, which we call ELOP, which funds our after-school program. So the statewide, there's $4 billion for that. There's no cut, but there's no COLA, and I see that as a win for education. So those dollars will continue to flow through for our after-school program. So really at this point, the next steps are it gets turned over to the state legislature. So they are going to spend the next several weeks and several months vetting the proposal from the governor. Lots of negotiations going on, and barring we don't have a state natural disaster, taxes will be due by April 15th. And so when the governor comes back in May, he will have a much better idea of revenues for the state to be able to give us a revision on his proposal for 24-25. So at this point, we will be taking this data back and crunching the numbers for what does that mean for Chico Unified. So we do know that we saw this year a decrease in our unduplicated student count, pretty significantly, almost 3%, and COLA is only going up 0.76. So we are looking at for next year less revenue, even though COLA is being fully funded. So we'll get into the specifics of that with our senior team, as well as explaining that to our labor partners as well. And that's what I've got for you. Any questions, concerns about the budget? It's stimulating, I know.
All right, seeing no questions here, do we have public comment? Okay. This is an informational item, and so we can move along as long as the board is ready to move to the next item. No more questions. We'll go to 9.2.2, a discussion action item, architect selection for facilities master plan, FMP projects, by Julie Kissel.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's nice to see everybody. This item is November 6th. The district issued a request for qualifications out to the whole state of California for all qualified architects to respond to, asking for them to provide statements of qualifications and their experience with K through 12 projects. We received 8 impressive responses to our request. We whittled those down to 4 different architectural firms, And then on December 15th, we interviewed all 4 firms. The main goal was to create a pool of architects to choose from for our upcoming master plan projects. We also identified projects that we'd like to assign to that pool. We decided all 4 architects were highly qualified and desirable to work with the district. That committee was comprised of myself and Maria Campos, our facilities planner. Also Shannon Payne from Citrus Elementary School. Eileen Robinson was there as a board representative, and Alan Chambers, our district architect, also attended to be that architect expert on the panel. So the 4 firms that we bring forward this evening for your review are DLR Group. DLR Group is out of Sacramento. They designed the 2-story classroom building at Chico High School. They also designed Neil Dow Elementary School modernization and new construction, as well as the new construction at Emma Wilson Kindergarten. HMC, who formerly was Rainforth Grau Architects, who also have worked with the district on multiple projects, namely Marigold Elementary School and Loma Vista. Lionakis Architects, who you're very familiar with, who did our facilities master plan, but is also responsible for the modernization at Bidwell Junior High School and Shasta Elementary School, and they're currently at McManus Elementary School. And then the last one, who we just started working with, is firm Studio W is their name. They are the lead architect for all of the Paradise Unified School District projects that are going on post-campfire. And they're also working for the district on the addition to the bakery for our nutrition services department. So tonight we're asking that you accept those 4 to be in the pool of architects for all of our upcoming Phase 5 master plan projects, and to assign certain architects to certain projects. So the committee recommended Lionakis Architects for Citrus Elementary School, and DLR Group for the Transitional Kindergarten Edition at Little Chico Creek, and HMC Architects for the Transitional Kindergarten Edition at Marigold. Remember, they're formerly Rainforth Grau, and they're very familiar with the Marigold campus. And then Studio W, I'm sorry, I may have misspoke. Studio W is Little Chico Creek Elementary School. DLR Group will be Emma Wilson, where we need a traditional kindergarten there as well. Transitional kindergarten. So tonight, that's what I'm bringing forward for your review and hopeful approval. Do you have any questions?
Just a question on, these projects are coming from Measure K funding? Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, these are from the remaining Measure K dollars.
Okay, thank you.
The pool will, however, cover the elementary projects if we're successful in passing a new bond. The pool of 4 firms will be utilized for Rosedale, Chapman, and Parkview.
Okay.
So the pool is meant to be able to be drawn from for all of our master plan projects.
Is there a deadline for that? Is there a time
It's
when
the
the pool
phase 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any other questions from board members. Nope. And no public comment? Nope. So I will call for a motion.
Sure. I move that we create a pool of authorized architects and assign them as Ms. Kissel just suggested.
Second.
Alrighty. If there's no further discussion, I'll go ahead and start off the vote. Dalby, aye.
Lando, aye.
Tennis, aye.
Conkin, aye.
It passes with 4 with 1 absent. Thank you. Thanks, Julie. All right, moving along. 9.2.3, discussion action on the 2022 to 2023 independent financial audit with Sharice Bromley.
Hi, good evening, board. So every year we come to you and present, we're required to contract with an external audit firm. As a school district, we have contracted with Horton McNulty and Saturn HM&S, which is a local audit firm. They come in and do testing that has to do with our compliance, our financials. They work with our school sites and district office staff. So there were no financial findings this year. We did have one finding that was a compliance, so we're working with school staff to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. But there were no adjustments to the unaudited actuals that we brought to you in October. So that's the audit for 22-23. Do you have any questions?
Mostly just a thank you. These audits always come back very clean, and I appreciate the work you guys do.
We try. Okay, so we'll need approval of the audit if there are no other questions.
So if there's no questions of clarification, no public comment, then I will call for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Tennis and a second by Mr. Lando. We'll start the vote with Mr. Lando.
Lando, aye.
Tennis, aye.
Conkin, aye.
Dalby, aye. It passes 4 with 1 absent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you here for the next
Yeah.
item? It's on the next, it's on the
You're
next
stuck with
page.
me
I
one
haven't
more
gotten that far yet. All right, 9.2.4 is discussion action for the adoption of resolution number 1625-24 regarding accounting of developer fees for fiscal year 22-23.
Yes, so I'm just staying in 22-23 for you guys tonight. So this report, per Ed Code, we have to bring a report that shows our developer fees that were collected, any expenditures that we spent out of that account, as well as what our beginning and ending fund balance, and then what our plans are for projects that we're going to be paying for partially with our developer fees in the future. So this is the 22-23 annual and 5-year developer fee report, and we'll also need approval on this as well. And if there are any questions, just let me know.
Was there anything in particular on the report that you wanted to highlight for us?
No, we did have a question as far as the revenues that we had last year that we generated were much lower than we've had in the last few years. This year, so last year we collected about 1.4 million. This year we've already collected that amount. So it does seem like last year was an anomaly. And we did increase the rate this last summer, which doesn't seem to have slowed the collection, so that's amazing. And it does seem like development has picked up. So our fees that we collect are dependent on how many permits are processed by the city and building, or city and county building departments. So we aren't really a part of the process. We're kind of just, we're a part of the process, but we don't determine the number of fees that are collected. That's more determined by the projects that are going on as far as development goes in Chico.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from board members? Or need another minute? And developer fees, that comes back up in May this year?
It will, I lost Julie, but I think it'll be next year. The state will adopt a new, that'll be this year.
Yeah, we have to wait for the State Board of Education to pass theirs. It's typically in the first couple of months of the year, and then we will do a study, and then we will bring that back, probably shooting for May, June at the latest.
Okay. Thank you. All right, well, seeing no additional questions for clarification and no public comment, I will ask for a motion.
I move adoption of resolution number 1625-24 regarding accounting of developer fees for fiscal year 22-23.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tennis and a second by Ms. Conkin. Let's start with Mr. Tennis.
Tennis, aye.
Conkin, aye.
Dalby, aye.
Lando, aye.
Okay, passes 4 to 1 and 1 absent.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. Item 3, we're moving on to number 3, 9.3.1. Discussion action item resolution number 162, human resources. What? Yeah, no, my numbers are a little bit confusing on my packet. Yeah, so we're still in 9, which is our discussion action calendar. 3, human resources. 1, discussion action resolution number 1626-24, release and non-reelection of temporary, including probationary 0 certificated employees.
Thank you, President Dolby. So before you, you have a resolution. It's an annual resolution that we bring to the board. Essentially, Ed Code 44954B requires that the governing board notify a temporary employee, and for us, our Probe 0 employees, of their release or non-reelection. So that annual resolution is there before you. I do want to emphasize, knowing that this is it's a human business, we've been able to negotiate and maintain an understanding between CUTA and the CUSD that any temporary or probationary employee does have a right to an interview in our process. That's not the case in every district, so I just want to emphasize that negotiation. So again, this is an annual resolution in relation to our temporary and Probe 0 certificated employees.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Shepherd? Nope. And we have no public comment? Okay. Then I'll call for a motion.
Sure. I will move adoption of resolution 162624.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll start with Ms. Conkin.
Conkin, aye.
Dalby, aye.
Lando, aye.
Tennis, aye.
It passes 4 to 1 absent, 4 and 1 absent. Okay, 9.3.2 is a discussion action item for the approval of Personnel Commission member for a 3-year term.
Great, thank you. So before you, you have an affirmation of the approval of Beverly Patrick as one of the 3rd member of our Personnel Commission. If you remember back to our last meeting, the Personnel Commission members generously donate their time to that commission. It's in most cases a thankless position. However, they're willing to support our classified employees and the strength of that bargaining unit. So this is an affirmation of Beverly Patrick as the reappointed member of the Personnel Commission.
Great. Seeing no questions from the board and no public comment, we'll move right on to a motion.
Sure. I will move to approve the appointment of Beverly Patrick to the Personnel Commission.
I'll second. So we have a motion by Mr. Lando and a second by Dalby. I'll start the vote. Dalby, aye.
Lando, aye.
Tennis, aye.
Conkin, aye.
Okay, passes with 4 votes, 1 absent. And with that, we will move into 9.4. That's the board. This is an informational item, 9.4.1, first reading of revised/updated/new board policies.
So we are bringing forward 2 updated board policies that we've done some work on. This is a first reading. I'm going to ask Jay just to do a very quick overview on the board policy 1250, and then I'll talk a little bit about board policy 5145.9.
The only changes I would like to make to this is basically a visitors board policy, and it came to us basically comes down to I'm trying to remember what the penal code is, but basically a sex offender wanting to come, that they have a child or on our campus but wants to attend to be able to come on to our school sites. Our current board policy says that goes through the principal at the school site, and I would like to change that, as you could see down towards the end of the paragraph, where that is the superintendent or designee. Really, it's my office that I meet with that. It was recently questioned by a parent that wanted to come on our campus. That was a principal's decision, and I think that's more of a district level decision, and for us to support the principal on that decision when it comes to it, because otherwise I believe that's a lot to put on our principals to make that decision on each one of our sites. I believe that the district office and myself, my office needs to be making that decision when somebody comes on to our campus or not comes on our campus. So we're changing it down there to, when it comes to presence of a sex offender on campus, any person who is required to register as a sex offender pursuant penal code, sorry, it is on there, 290, including a parent or guardian of a district student, shall request a written permission from the superintendent or designee, and we're crossing out principal, before entering the school campus on grounds. As necessary, the superintendent or designee shall consult with law enforcement and authorities before allowing the presence of any such person on our school or other school activity. The superintendent or designee also shall report to the principal anytime such written permission granted access to the individual at any limited of that access. So we would contact the principal and say, this is what the decisions we made, and that's what I've done already this year.
So in this scenario, there'd be somebody at the district office or the superintendent himself, but maybe some designee, who would sort of be skilled and maybe even trained and prepared to vet people who wanted to come on campuses.
Yeah.
Rather than for it to just be sort of in the hands of kind of whatever random principal, not that they are in some way, not qualified to make a determination like this, but 15 people might come to different conclusions about wellness, and this is a way to centralize things and create potentially a higher or better standard.
Exactly. Again, I'm not, as you're saying, Matt, is I don't think that our principals aren't qualified to do that, but I just think that's a district level the decision. I'm contacting law enforcement. I'm looking up the offenses. We're going through each stubble and how long ago, what was it, those types of questions. And then I meet with the principal to discuss the decision on what we could do off campus or on campus, where this possibly this child or parent is dropping off their child, IEP meetings, where those are going to be held, all those types of things. And they have to report to us. And so I just want somebody from my office or myself or Kelly Staley, obviously, our superintendent can obviously do that also. I just, at this point, we're already in that process. We're already doing that process. I just wanted to put it in our language.
And also something that occurs to me, and I want to thank you for thinking about this and making this proposal, because the personal interaction piece, kind of puts the site manager, i.e. the principal, under a lot of potential.
Problems.
Potential pressure, excuse me. That could be awkward at best.
Yeah, we were looking to be more consistent and also to relieve some of that pressure off of the site administrator, so that we're more consistent and that we want them to have the relationship with our parents. And sometimes if you have to say no, that's difficult.
I was going to add on to that the consistency is appropriate to bump this up to the district level, because you would want this to be applied at any site that a particular individual appeals to. If they want to come onto that campus, it shouldn't differ depending on what principal is managing that site. And principals do vary due to their personalities. It's not a positive or negative thing. It's the nature of it's human nature. So it makes sense to be consistent at the district level on, being the gatekeepers to people who are allowed to be on our campus to that degree.
Yeah, and I would agree, because as they progress, like elementary to middle school to high school, it would make sense to have like consistency rather than this was allowed in middle school but not allowed in high school or whatever.
So this is a first read. It will be brought back to us at the next meeting, or will it be their next regular meeting in middle of February?
It can come back at the next meeting.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the 5145.9. The board received a letter early in the school year from the NorCal Anti-Racism Coalition requesting that we take a look at this board policy. And we did take a look at it, both because of their request, but also because we really wanted to have this policy align more closely with our non-discrimination and harassment policy. So we have met 3 times, I believe, with NorCal Anti-Racism Coalition and looked at the policy and to kind of better understand some of the things that they were concerned about with the existing policy. And I am happy to say that at our last meeting, I think all of us felt that we had come up with a good policy. We broke this down into a definition, into prevention, the complaint process, and then consequences and discipline from a policy perspective. Where we have not yet gone and that we still need to do, so this will be a request from me to the board that we wait to bring this board policy back until we have administrative regulations to go with it. Our administrative regulations are how we actually implement this policy. So for example, we need to have some clarity. If a student were to have inappropriate graffiti on their notebook or drew some inappropriate graffiti in a restroom, what would those consequences be? And what we're looking at this particular point is that our first step is to educate. We're educators. We want to educate the student as to the impacts of derogatory statements or symbols. And then if there's pervasive and ongoing behavior, the discipline process we would go through, it would get consistently more stringent as we went through. But we don't have all of that yet written down in an administrative regulation. That's work that we still have to do. And certainly we want to continue to work with NorCal Anti-Racism Coalition as we develop that. So this is the policy that we're bringing forward, but in a rarity, there just are not administrative regulations that have been developed by California School Boards Association yet to go with this. So we are trying to develop our own. We're doing that in conjunction with our school sites so that they can tell us what are the issues that you deal with most frequently, and then what are our consequences that we want to have. We don't want to have a policy that we don't have a way to implement.
So are students currently allowed to target each other with, like racial symbols and stuff like that?
No.
So what's the purpose of this?
The purpose is uniformity, so that across the district we have a similar approach.
Why are students currently not allowed to do that? What rules are students in violation of if they're, writing offensive symbols or using slurs at one another? Where would they be afoul of current
So we
district
currently
rules?
have policy that doesn't allow that. There is also education code that doesn't allow that. But the part I think that was the concern is if a student, let's say, called someone a derogatory name at one school, it might have been, hey, let's not do that again. At another school, it might have been a suspension. So there was concerns about the implementation of the discipline across the district.
I mean, what if in one scenario it was an extremely immature youth, just kind of running his or her mouth off, and it was like a one-off versus another environment where it was a persistent problem.
Exactly.
Is there no discretion on the part of the administration to deal with one, with a lighter hand than the one that was very focused and serious? And in this document here, does it allow for, that kind of flexibility?
So we currently don't have that developed, the administrative regulation, but yes, I mean, there will be flexibility, but also within a parameter. So for example, the first student you referenced that just, said something immature and not even recognizing the impact of their language, that is absolutely a teachable moment. So where we want to come in and share, this is the impact that inappropriate language has on others and how it might make others feel. Where if you have another student who, after having that type of counseling, who continues to use language and perhaps use it in a manner wanting to cause hurt, then those consequences are going to be different.
It does address it at the last part. There in the consequences and discipline, it talks about what your examples are in broad terms, but it does talk about the two differences.
I'm just surprised to learn that there's not existing mechanisms for dealing with this kind of behavior that's clearly out of bounds.
We do have existing mechanisms, and they were located. That's why we're trying to make these two policies more in alignment. They were located in non-discrimination and harassment and within Ed Code. But this was brought forward that the hate-motivated behavior really was lacking and really did need to parallel consequences that were in other policies.
And it is an already existing policy in our board policies. It's just not, doesn't provide the definitions, and it doesn't, the new policy seems to expand on or allow for identifying those behaviors and trying to take bias out of it. You know, what might be perceived as hate-motivated behavior by one person based on their experiences may be viewed differently from another person based on their experiences, and this helps with the uniformity of it. Ideally will help to take the bias out of it. So it expands on what we already have. And this is also a first reading.
This is a first reading, and again, I would like to request that we be allowed to develop the administrative regulations to go along with that before we bring it back.
And I also just want to remind all of us that if there are pieces, all or none, of any of our proposed policies, the first read is for everybody to take a look at it and, you know, email in suggested changes or come prepared at the next meeting with requested alterations if
It's absolutely a work in progress.
if desired, yeah. Any other questions or comments from board members?
So this does not require action at this point. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right on down to 4.2, and that is a Kelly Air. That should not have been on this agenda. That is actually scheduled for our February 21st meeting, so you will see that come back in February.
Okay. So we'll pull that from the...
So we'll pull that one.
Alrighty, well, so that brings us to the end of 9.4. Moving on to item 10 is items from the floor. It's another chance for speakers who wish to address the board regarding any of the topics that are not currently agendized today to come on up and speak. And if there are none, seeing none, we don't have any board member requests to agendize an item, and so our next meeting is February 7th, and do we have a motion to adjourn until our February 7th meeting, workshop meeting?
So moved.
Alrighty. We will adjourn.